Hello, and welcome back to another episode. This evening, I want to try an experiment. Well, this evening and tomorrow morning, because tonight I'm off to see Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. I know I haven't reacted to the trailers or the other sort of publicity on this YouTube channel building up to this moment, but the film is finally here. And frankly, if you reacted to everything in terms of the Star Wars news that comes our way these days, well, it'd become a full-time job. So just trust me, I've seen the trailers and I am hyped for this movie. And there are certain things at the moment that I'm, I suppose, looking forward to, that I'm hoping for, that I'm curious about, and I want to see how this moment stacks up against tomorrow morning. I want to know how the after compares to the before tonight. This moment, this electric anticipation on the night of going to see the new Star Wars movie. I want to see how the film holds up to that. And in that sense, this should be an interesting little experiment, this video. So I suppose, first of all, I want to know more about Rey. I want to know where she comes from. I want to know how she ties in with the Luke story, I suppose, the Skywalker saga in its entirety. That's really what these episodic Star Wars movies are. It's the Skywalker story, and how does Rey fit into that? I want to know how she ended up on Jakku. Where was she before she was on Jakku? We see, obviously, her as a little girl being dropped off on Jakku in a slightly sort of tormented kind of "don't go" kind of way. I want to know where she was before. How she ended up there. Is she there for her own protection? Was she left there with the intent of being recovered, or was it a more permanent thing? I want to know more about Rey and how she connects to Luke. Indeed, I want to know more about Luke. I want to know what he's been doing over the past 20 odd years. I want to know how the events of Return of the Jedi were the heights of that movie, the galactic celebration that we saw certainly in the special editions, led to where he is today. I want to know what happened next. Again, it's hinted at in The Force Awakens, but I want to know more. I really want to see whether Luke, I suppose, follows the template of Obi-Wan Kenobi, his master, I guess, or whether he finds a new way, a third way perhaps. I don't think he'll go to the dark side, but maybe he, as it's hinted in the trailer, maybe he believes that the Jedi have to come to an end, and there is another way, a new way to be a Force wielder in this galaxy. I also want to know how all of these events, all of this sort of regret that possibly he's carrying, linked with Kylo Ren, etc., how that propels him forward into this story and where he ends up, what his particular path is in this movie, and indeed where it may well go next into the third of this trilogy. I suppose, you know, we love Luke. We all love Luke. Luke is fantastic, and yes, okay, I sometimes have accused him in the past of being a bit bland, but certainly by the third movie he's matured. You have to admit that. But now he looks as though he's got years and years, bags of character, literally bags under the eyes, and a big beard. How has Luke come to be like this, and is he still the Luke that we know and that we knew back in Return of the Jedi? Now, of course, in Return of the Jedi, we saw the fall of Emperor Palpatine. Those final moments when Darth Vader picked up his corrupt master and threw him down that shaft in the Death Star. This left seemingly a power vacuum that was filled by the New Order, and in particular, Snoke. I want to know more about Snoke. I want to know whether Snoke is, for example, perhaps Darth Plagueis, as some people have been theorising. I want to know more about how Snoke emerged from the shadows, and actually how he met, for example, Ben Solo. How did this person come into that young man's life, that boy's life, and rip him from Luke's Jedi Academy. What happened there? What is driving Snoke? Is Snoke also seeking a third way? Is he actually a dark side wielder? Is he a Sith? Or is he something else? There's so much potential there in the character of Snoke, because he was such a mystery in The Force Awakens. I want there to be something intriguing behind Snoke, and something more than simply, I suppose, a domineering evil ambition. Speaking of ambition, Kylo Ren, where is he now after the events of The Force Awakens? Is he still driven by a desire to fulfill what he feels, or thinks at least, is the destiny that his grandfather was pulled away from at the last moment by Luke Skywalker? Does he still want to be or even outdo Darth Vader? Or has his mission evolved? Especially having murdered his own father. Is he as focused as he thought he would be? Losing that anchor to goodness that he thought was holding him back? Or is he just as conflicted as he was in The Force Awakens? Obviously the trailer contains a sort of a hint, a sort of maybe a misdirection, a bit of a tease that perhaps he may kill Princess Leia, for example. But will that happen? I want to know. And I want to know how far this path will take him. Is he redeemable? And beyond, for example, the physical scars on his face, this kind of thing that Rey gave him in the first movie, will the two of them, I suppose, come to some sort of understanding? Again, that's very playfully teased in the trailer. This idea of, it looks like Kylo reaching out to Rey. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Kylo Ren, because he has the potential to be a very multifaceted character. Princess Leia. What will be her story? What will be the end of her story? The legacy of that character after all these years? Obviously with the passing of Carrie Fisher and the confirmation that they're not going to digitally render her in the third movie in this trilogy, it leaves a big question mark over how they're going to handle that character. Will it be, as it seemed in the trailer, that Kylo Ren kills her off? Or will it be more ambiguous than that? Again, I really want to know. Now, I'm literally about to head out the door, but finally I want to know what happens with Finn, Poe, BB-8, C-3PO, R2-D2, Chewbacca, the whole gang, all the rest of those characters. Will we get to know them more, especially, for example, Poe and Finn? Will they have an adventure? Will there be character growth? Will we grow to love them as much as the supporting characters in especially the original trilogy? Or is there simply not enough room in this film for those characters because of this sort of these epic questions that were built up surrounding Rey and Kylo and Snoke in particular, for example, in The Force Awakens? I want to know if this film will be a balanced affair, and if it will come together in a way that's satisfying. For example, I mean, Phasma, Captain Phasma, what's going to happen with her in this film? There's so many questions, and I'm about to find out the answer. So, here we go. Huh. So it's not the morning, it's just gone midnight, we've just got in, and of course I couldn't wait to talk about this because it was fascinating. I think I need to see that movie again. I mean, it was brilliant, but it's probably the densest Star Wars film since Empire, I think, since Empire Strikes Back, in terms of expanding on character, building lore, playing with our assumptions from the movie that came before it, flipping some of those assumptions on their head, toying with opinion and perspective, and what we assume in particular about about the nature of this story. Yeah, that was very interesting. Okay, so let's go down the list. My list of things that I was curious about. No spoilers, so I'm going to keep this fairly vague and hopefully fairly brief, because obviously I'm talking in terms of abstract concepts, to keep it spoiler free. But first of all, for example, Rey, the questions that I had about the character, the questions that I thought I wanted answered, didn't matter and don't matter. What matters about Rey is actually her personality. It is that forthright, magnetic personality that I appreciated so much in The Force Awakens, and how there's something about her eagerness to help the cause, her never say die kind of attitude that necessitates a certain way of being with the Force that is at the heart of this film. I very much appreciate actually how certain echoes of things from Empire are present, in terms of, for example, the connection between protagonist and antagonist, hero and villain, the ability to build on that, though, to explore what Force users mean to each other, was very good. Yeah, it was very interesting. And Rey, okay, you could argue she continues to be a bit of a Mary Sue, but I don't mind. That's actually part of her character. In the same way that Anakin was one in a million, one in a quadrillion, possibly formed by Darth Plagueis himself, Rey isn't that. That's not a spoiler, don't worry. But what's important is Rey happened and Rey exists. And yeah, interesting. Luke. Mark Hamill did not disappoint. An excellent portrayal of a grumpy old man, first and foremost. In some ways echoing and mirroring his real life persona, in all the interviews that he's given over the years at Comic-Cons and this kind of thing. But also, just like the real life Mark Hamill, Luke retains that spark. There is that he's not just gruff. There's a roundness to his voice. There is an optimism that he can't help but have, that always brings him back, it seems, to being Luke Skywalker. But also, there is what I was hoping for in terms of that struggle. The past 20, 30 years have been hard for Luke, and it is in so many ways his own fault. And there's a certain scene where his status as a master is pointed out to him, and what it means to be a master. That's just beautiful, wonderful, heartwarming, and also actually Luke also builds slightly on what we've seen of the ethos of the Jedi, and also Jedi Masters as well in previous films, especially in Empire Strikes Back, definitely. Snoke, Supreme Leader Snoke. Ooh. A brilliant performance. Actually really well emoted, because now we get to see him in person. We see this in the trailer. We see his flesh, for example. He's not a hologram anymore. A scary presence, a delightfully cynical presence, but ultimately not what I thought would happen with that character. And I'm slightly disappointed. It's left me wanting to know more about Snoke, in particular have some lingering questions about that man. So I know that's repeating the same thing, wanting to know more, having lingering questions, but I stopped short of a spoiler there. But yeah, a bit like the questions I had to do with Rey, kind of not important for this film. It's interesting, it is very interesting. Kylo Ren. You know, in The Force Awakens I was a bit underwhelmed. His whiny attitude, his tantrums, and his presence, I thought was actually in part a failure of Adam Driver as an actor. I thought the character had potential, and overall I liked the character, but it felt adolescent, shall we say. This film wonderfully delivers on that, and it makes it so important that he was that. He was like Anakin in some respects. He was like Hayden Christensen's performance. You know, I slaughtered them like animals, because he develops in this film. Now that is incredibly vague, I know, but it's important that you go into this film not knowing what I now know about that character. I suppose what I would say is that it's very pleasing to know his motivations a little bit better, to understand that there are perspectives on his backstory, and also to understand that perhaps the bad guy isn't wrong in some respects. It's quite pleasing. Leia, General Organa in this film is really, really quite good. Following The Force Awakens, it's clear that all the original trilogy cast members are vulnerable. And don't worry, again, I said, no spoilers. But they play with that. And they also, in that sense, play, I don't know whether deliberately or not, I don't know whether this was in the story, or these certain story elements were in the script all along, but they really toy with what we're looking for with that character. So, for example, I was wondering about whether or not and how or not they were going to wrap up Princess Leia's story, General Organa's story. But again, that concern was not one that mattered in this film, and it's one that I'm really pleased that actually didn't matter in this film. What matters more than that, and more than any lingering questions about how Star Wars continues following the death of Carrie Fisher, is actually the status of Leia as Luke's sister. What matters more is that Leia is Luke's twin, and that is cool. I did appreciate that. It was also something actually that my lovely wife appreciated as well. There was some beautiful little elements in this movie that come out of that. Again, just like in Empire, there were some connections and some moments. Trust me, when you go and see this film, there's one big moment in particular that you'll see, and you'll either love it or hate it. But I personally loved it. Finn, Poe, BB-8, C-3PO, R2-D2, Chewbacca, and the rest are all excellent. And crucially, just like with Empire Strikes Back compared to the original Star Wars movie, this film expands characters and crucially interrogates those aspects of characters to test the characters, but also to help us to better understand that those characters are capable of being more than their character traits. In particular, Poe Dameron as the heroic pilot, he is stretched and he is tested and weighed and measured in this film more than he was in The Force Awakens, when he's literally stretched and tortured on a device in that room with Kylo Ren. Finn similarly, and he has a sort of a side quest in this film. Actually, it's not a side quest. It's important for the story. Actually, it's crucial for the story, which expands on him coming out of the First Order, what it means to be fighting against that, what it means to be part of the rebellion against the First Order. Chewbacca has some excellent scenes, in particular with the Porgs. Again, we've seen this in the trailer. That he has moments with the Porgs, and some of those moments are superb. In fact, the Porgs are superb. There's one moment in particular where a Porg is in danger, shall we say, and you just go, I don't want to see this, please, I don't want to see it. It's wonderful. The one slightly disappointing element, a little bit like The Force Awakens actually in that sense, was the use of Captain Phasma. She is, she has more to do in this film than she did in The Force Awakens, and she's more present, I guess, to a certain extent. But I was a bit disappointed, I won't lie, given that you've got such potential there in that character. Yeah. But apart from that, I think across the board, good character development, fairly good writing, and satisfying character arcs and moments, definitely. And finally, ultimately, overall, this movie is beautiful. It's one of the most visually interesting, diverse, and arresting Star Wars movies yet. It just is. It has some little bits which I think are clearly echoing things that we might see in future past movies. For example, the Han Solo spin-off film. I appreciate the use of physical sets. I appreciate the judicious use of CGI when it comes to creatures. I appreciate the little details that they throw in, just like in The Force Awakens, when they have this, like, the sand creature with the red eyes just pop up out of the sand for no reason other than to sort of populate the environment with creatures. That happens in this film as well. Some of it is just in the background, and we'll have to read about it one day in a Star Wars encyclopedia. Good world building, good creatures, a good sense of the universe, but beyond that as well, just a good eye, a good visual spectacle, especially in particular on the planet. I think it's Crate. The planet with the red dust that we see in the trailer. Just wonderful visuals there. But all the way throughout, this movie is beautifully shot. So my hat, as it were, comes off to the director. In fact, my hat had to come off in the cinema. Because before the film started, the guy behind me sort of said, do you mind? And I was like, yeah, that's fine, no worries, I can completely understand. Who wants that getting in the way of your Star Wars, eh? Certainly not me. Anyway, it's late, and I probably should get to sleep, but that was good, and maybe at some point in the future I'll reflect a bit more openly on this movie and the characters and the meaning of it all, but overall good, and a film that deserves at least 2 viewings in the cinema. I'm going to try and see it again sometime soon, and crucially, a Star Wars film that you have to think about, which is refreshing. It's, following on from the proof of concept, as it were, that was The Force Awakens. Don't worry guys, we can make a Star Wars film, here you go, a bit like A New Hope. This one dared to be different, it dared to go in new directions in some respects, and it dared to make you think, to give you food for thought, and not just have everything laid out for you on a platter. Also, I'm happy to say that there were some things which I thought were plot holes, that on the way home I realised they're really not plot holes at all. I can't talk about them, otherwise I'll ruin the story. But it's quite a tight story actually as well. There's not no glaring errors that I can see. or that I can remember. Anyway, right, I'm off to bed. As ever, guys, until next time, do take care. Bye bye.